Okay. Oh. So today is February 29th and it is officially the extra day. So I spent my day doing something just a tiny bit extra, which was to plan and design my own TBR game. TBR games, if you are unfamiliar with them, are a game type that you can create or use to help you pick your monthly TBRs. The idea is that it will help you read through books that you might otherwise not pick up. It provides a little bit of fun and challenge to your TBR, and it's also just a cool way to interact with your books, like a different way of using them and making sure you are reading them. So I originally was introduced to TBR games through Drinking by My Shelf, Emma's channel, where she did a TBR balancing the books game, and the idea was that she always had to have more books coming off her TBR than she was ever putting on, and they must remain balanced. Now when I first started my channel, I tried to do that, which I really enjoyed. Since then there are quite a few more TBR games now on BookTube. To name a few, there are things like Becca's Bookopoly, where a Monopoly style board is used by Becca in the books. There is TBR Pursuit, which Daisy Ray uses, which involves moving her TBR little Trivial Pursuit pie tokens around, and she selects a genre and then a prompt and has to find a book that fits that. And there's other games that are slowly being introduced, which are really fun and creative. So I thought, well, I have over 300 books on my TBR. When I say my TBR, they are owned books that I have physically on my shelves, either downstairs in my living room here surrounding me, or upstairs in my library. And of those books, there are some that I will naturally gravitate towards, that I will always just want to pick up next. There are ones that have sat there for 10 years, which clearly need me to have a kind of push to read. And there are some that I know I will like, or I may be interested in, but I'm just not going to pick them up without a specific reason. To give you an example, I read a lot more classics, literary fiction and so on when I was in university, when I was forced to, and some of those are my favourite books. So clearly it's not that I don't like the genre, but unless they are on a reading list and I have a specific reason, I never read them. So I thought that if I created a TBR game, it would force me to do so. This is the first month I'm doing it, so the first video is going to be longer than the others, just while I explain the setup. Now, all the other BookTube channels, they make incredible game boards and the arts and crafts is strong with them, but it's not so much with me. And so I have made a digital game board, which I will be showing you in a second. The main idea of my TBR game is called TBR Tokens, and it kind of looks like a Connect 4 game. So what I have to do is create lines on the board, and once each line is finished, I will earn a book token to enable me to buy a book. What I want to do over this year is not only read and reduce ones from my unread owned book collection, but I also kind of want to reduce my book buying, where I'm just adding to it and not actually reading them. So this is designed to do both. Let me show you the board. Okay, it's going to pop up here. What you will see is the board is a 7x7 square, and each one of the circles will be filled with a different prompt. I will take my little figure and I will then roll a 6-sided die, and I can move in any direction, left, right, up or down, but I have to set the direction before I start. Now if I get to the end of a row, I'm allowed to move down, or I'm allowed to move right again or something like that, but that's the only time I can change directions mid-roll. I will then put the little token on there and pick a book to fit that prompt, and once I have read that book, that square will be completed and I will have collected that token. Once I've collected 7 in a row, either horizontally or vertically, then I can get a book token and I can go and buy a book, or I can reserve it for a book that I know is coming out and about to be released. That means that each board will allow me to buy 14 books, unless there's a specific prompt that allows me to buy a book a bit earlier. But each board has, I think it's 49 circles on it, and so I need to works out 48 or 49 books. Except if I DNF a book and unhaul it, then I can count that square completed. If I do not read a book from this month's TBR, well, I don't want to unhaul it because there's a reason I bought it. I wanted to read it, but I can't complete that square, and so they have to go back on my shelf to be added to a new TBR. And if I say, oh, this month I can read 5, so I'm going to do 5 rolls, and then I actually read 8 books, I'm not allowed to count the additional 3 towards the book tokens. So it's kind of a game of myself as well. I have to bet how many books I can read that month, no less than 5, and that's the amount of rolls I will complete that month. There's also a couple of trick squares. There are 7 squares, 1 for each line, that has a ×2, and in order to complete that circle I will have to read 2 books which fit that prompt. Okay, so what you can see now is that the board is completely blank. Oh no. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to set up the game and I am going to randomly pick the prompts. I have 4 times 12, 48 prompts that could fit on the board, but I'm going to randomise them because I don't want to put them in areas where it's like I can purposely get to them. I don't want to put on too many of one and not of another, and I do want it to be a game and a bit of a challenge. So what I'm going to do is, they are in 4 columns, as you will see. So column 1 is mostly genre-based prompts, column 2 is TBR-based prompts, column 3 and 4 are random-based prompts that we've come up with, just general, out of the air type things. I will roll my 4-sided die to get which column I'm going to choose from, and then my 12-sided die to roll which, I'm making sure that it's 12, it is, to roll, choose which prompt in that column, and then I will complete all of the prompts in the green row. Then I will roll the 4 again, complete all of the prompts in the red row, roll the 4 again, complete all the prompts in the purple row, and so on, until the board is essentially randomised. So I'm going to go and complete that now, and we will get a brand new board. So for the prompt for non-fiction, I've decided I'm going to read The Adventures of Maud West, Lady Detective. This is a non-fiction book about Maud West, who opened a detective agency in the early 1900s, and she was one of the first lady detectives, and it's a true story. It's supposed to be really well written and set in a really nice style, similar to the life of Henrietta Lacks, which I really enjoyed. So I'm looking forward to reading that and discovering more about a real life detective who was active around the same time as the golden age of detective fiction, which I really love. And I managed to land on middle grades, which means I get a nice easy read. So Pocken and Stubbs, The Haunting of Pelican City is the second in the Pocken and Stubbs series, which follows Lil Pocken, who is a wannabe reporter in a downtown and dirty, corrupted dystopian world. It's basically a hardboiled detective fiction written for middle grade, and Pocken and Stubbs were so fun, so I'm really excited to carry on the series. My 5-star prediction is going to be Queenslayer by Sebastian de Castell. So I have loved the Spellslinger series, which follows a mage, a Jantep mage called Kellen, who discovers that he doesn't have quite the amount of power that he really needs, and so becomes a kind of con artist. It follows him in the world as he navigates the Jantep politics, the politics of the wider world around him, and discovers a lot more about his society and what it means to be within it, what it means to be friends, what family means, and so on. I've really been loving the series, and nearly every book has been 5-star. In fact, they might have all been 5-star. So this one is the 5th in the series, and I don't want to say or spoil anything to do with it. All I can say is I need to read that one now before I get the final book, which is Crown Baker, and I'm so excited to be moving my way through that series. I've pretty much been reading them at a rate of a book every 1.5 months anyway, and made my way through that really fast. No. There was one more book that I picked, and that was to buy and read. So the buy and read prompt means that I literally get to go out, buy a brand new book, but I must read it in that month in order to earn that circle. Now, I haven't quite thought of a forfeit of what happens if I buy it but don't manage to read it, but to be honest, I'm saving that circle for really anticipated stuff. And what I've decided to buy with the buy and read one is the new Melinda Salisbury book, which is Hold Back the Tide. Wayne and I really enjoyed the Song of Sorrow duology, and so I'm happy to read this one knowing absolutely nothing about it. So I can't tell you what Hold Back the Tide is about because I know absolutely nothing about it, but I will take you along whenever I go and buy it, and I swear I will read it this month, and if not, I will have to think of some kind of forfeit for next month. And the Moody Wayne pick. So to explain this a little bit more, Wayne decided that instead of just picking a straightforward book for me, he would create a mood board of 20 book choices, and I would then roll another die to select a book off that 20 book choice. We did this, but to make it a little bit harder for myself, some of the squares had at times 2, which meant roll again. So Wayne picked the 20 books, I rolled a 1, which meant that I needed to read Wintersmith by Terry Pratchett. This has been on my TBR forever. I love Terry Pratchett and I really enjoy all of his Discworld novels. They are satirical novels which are set in a world that is so similar to ours but other. It's a fantastic commentary on aspects of not just our world but on aspects of literature, different types of fiction, different industries within the world, so the newspaper industry, on the Industrial Revolution, on Hollywood and the movie industry, and they're really fun and I really enjoy them. Wintersmith features Tiffany Aching and this is actually the young adult part of Discworld and I just haven't finished them, I haven't read enough, so I'm very happy to read another Terry Pratchett. But what I wasn't so happy about was that square number 1 was a ×2. So Wayne picked another one to replace it, and I will also be reading Ill Will. Ill Will is the untold story of Heathcliff. So some colleagues from work got me this for my birthday. It is a reimagining of an aspect of Wuthering Heights. What if Heathcliff went back to Liverpool, found someone else, and then basically went off all over England making his fortune until he eventually heads home to Wuthering Heights. It should be fun, it should be something a bit different. Now, I don't think it's going to be quite like Wide Sargasso Sea, which is a reimagining of an aspect of Jane Eyre, and I love that. But hopefully it will be something fun that I'll really love too, and it's another way to consume more Wuthering Heights. However, this was on number 1 again, which meant there was a ×2. So I had to roll for a third time, and luckily this time it was the final time, and I rolled Grace and Fury by Tracy Banghart. So this is a novel that I got quite a while ago in a fairy leaf box. It is a very short YA fantasy that is about, I think it's about 2 sisters who potentially have to fight. Yeah, so they have to fight for the crown or something similar to that. I knew a little bit more about it when I first got it. I don't know much now, but it's very short. It should be very interesting. So I'm happy to read that. I'm happy to definitely get that on my list. And Wayne's been eager for me to read it for a little while, to be honest. And for adapted work, I'm going to be reading Time of Contempt by Andrzej Sapkowski. This is the next book that I'm up to in the Witcher series. So I've read The Last Wish and Sword of Destiny, which are the short story collections that start off the series, and now I'm finally into the novels. Baptism of the Elves was quite good but a bit different, so now I'm ready to carry on reading. I want to read a few more of them and then rewatch The Witcher, which was really enjoyable on Netflix. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed playing the games as well. So it's a world that I've been enjoying getting into and then reading along. For the free choice prompt, I took advantage and I am reading Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. This is the 25th anniversary illustrated edition, which I got for Christmas, and I cannot wait to read this version. This is a reread for me and one of my favourite series ever, one of the first fantasy series I really read and enjoyed. The Elderling Along is going on, and this is the first book that they are reading, so I needed to read this in March anyway. It's been a very long time since I read the original books, but I think I've read this one twice anyway. I'm just really looking forward to getting back into the world of the Chivalry Farseer, who is one of my favourite characters. And the final circle that I needed to complete was a fairy leaf book. I say a fairy leaf book. That square also had a ×2 on it, and so to achieve that circle I have to read 2 books that fit that prompt. So I chose The Beautiful by Renee RDA. I received this quite recently in a fairy loot, and this is a vampiric, New Orleans, atmospheric young adult, which I am really looking forward to. I was eager to read this a little while ago, and it's just that other things were read, not particularly because I don't like it. So I'll be really glad and really happy to have that on my list and to get to it. I'm imagining some Interview with the Vampire Queen and the Damned style vibes for the vampires here, so I'm hoping they're similar to that. And then there's another fairy loot book that I was really eager to get to. These are fairy loot books that when I got them in the box, I was very happy to see them because they sounded so interesting. So the other one I've chosen to read is The Merciful Crow by Margaret Owen. I know that this one features some very different caste systems that are based on the idea of birds. I know it features a gang of people who are a bit downtrodden, who are going to be helping like a fugitive prince, and I'm looking forward to some vibes that are kind of like heisty, hopefully some camaraderie between the people. I've heard mixed reviews for this one, but I'm still quite eager to read it, so that is my final choice. Right, I originally said that I thought I could read 8 books, and apparently the game decided that I could read a lot more. It's wrong, but we're gonna try anyway. Now, a TBR game wouldn't be a TBR game if something didn't go drastically wrong, and for me that is the fact that I still have 2 books unfinished going into March, and there's no way that I'm going to get them finished today. The first of those is Apprentice by Brandon Sanderson. I'm around 150 pages in and I am loving it so far, so there's no way I want to put that down for the whole month of March. So I'm just going to keep making my way through that throughout the month and reading along with that anyway. And the other one is Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I don't know how I feel about that, but I'm at this point not willing to DNF it quite yet, so I think I'm just going to at some point try and make sure I'm picking it up and I'm still in the world of the story. So the TBR at the moment sits at, I think it was 11 books that TBR Tokens picked for me, and 2 extra books that I kind of messed up on and I'm already reading myself. Okay, so this is me officially ending this video. This is the first TBR for TBR Token. Oh no. Okay, so I can't keep hold of that. But yes, I'm going to attempt to read all of these beautiful books, and next month we will see how far I have gotten. Please let me know what you thought of any of the books that are in my TBR. Tell me if you are reading any, because it would be really cool to hear what you think of them, or even read along with you. That would maybe make it a little bit easier for me to get through some of them, or if there's any that I really need to get to first that I must make sure I read, please just mention it down below. I'm going to continue to do this monthly TBR game as we go forward, so if you like this and want to hear what I thought about those books, then subscribe to the channel and make sure that you like the video, and I will see you again soon. Bye.